The flight attendant handed me a different boarding pass and said, "You don't want to be on that plane, trust me. Danny Volkov," she whispered before I could even look at the new ticket. "I saw you on the news before the trial. My sister worked at the courthouse until 3 days ago." Her hands were shaking as she pressed the boarding pass into my palm. "Those men in first class on your original flight, they're not businessmen." My blood turned to ice. Nobody had called me Danny Volkov in 8 months. The name was supposed to be buried, erased, replaced with Thomas Garrett from Milwaukee, insurance adjuster, boring life, forgettable face, the kind of person who disappeared into crowds and never made headlines. "I think there's been a mistake," I started, but she cut me off. "Gate 23, not gate 15. Flight 892 to Seattle, not flight 445 to Miami." Her voice was barely audible over the airport noise. Passengers wheeling luggage past us, announcements echoing from overhead speakers. "And my name isn't Lisa Chen like this badge says. It's Rachel Donnelly. My sister was Detective Angela Donnelly." The name hit me like a physical blow. Detective Donnelly had been my first contact when I entered witness protection. She'd promised me that testifying against Dmitry Volkov would be worth the risk, that justice would prevail, that good people would keep me alive long enough to see him convicted. She'd been found dead in her car 4 days ago. Single vehicle accident on a rainy night. No witnesses. "Angela's dead," I said, the words feeling like glass in my throat. "Murdered. Made to look like an accident. But I know better." Rachel's professional flight attendant smile never wavered, but tears were building in her eyes. "She called me the night before she died. Said she'd discovered something about your case, about someone on the inside feeding information to the Bratva. She was scared, really scared, for the first time in her career." The airport terminal suddenly felt smaller, more claustrophobic. Security cameras tracked every movement. Exit signs might as well have been painted on the walls for all the good they'd do me. I'd been running from Dmitry Volkov's organization for 8 months, ever since I witnessed him execute 3 federal agents in a warehouse in Queens. The trial was supposed to start in 10 days. I was the only witness still breathing. "How do you know who I am?" I asked, though part of me was terrified of the answer. Rachel adjusted something on her uniform, maintaining the pretense that this was a routine passenger service interaction. "Because Angela showed me your photo. She was worried about you. Said the marshals assigned to your protection seemed nervous, like they didn't trust their own system. And because I recognized one of the men sitting in first class on flight 445, she pulled out her phone, pretended to check something official, but turned the screen toward me. A surveillance photo of a man with pale eyes and a scar running from his left ear to his jaw. Alexei Kozlov. Angela had him under surveillance for 6 weeks. He specializes in mid-flight accidents, heart attacks, allergic reactions, food poisoning, things that don't look suspicious at 30,000 feet. My legs felt weak. I'd been so careful, following every protocol the marshals had given me. New identity, new background, new habits. I'd even changed the way I walked, the way I held my shoulders, but somehow they'd found me anyway. "There's a second man with him," Rachel continued, swiping to another photo. "Viktor Petrov, demolitions expert. If Kozlov can't make it look natural, Petrov makes it look like mechanical failure, engine trouble, cabin pressure problems, pilot error." I looked toward gate 15 where passengers were already boarding flight 445. Normal people heading home to families, business meetings, vacations. None of them knowing they were about to share a plane with professional killers. None of them knowing that their flight had been chosen as the site of my execution. "Why are you helping me?" I asked. "If they killed Angela, helping me puts you in their crosshairs too." Rachel's smile finally cracked, and for a moment I saw the grief and rage she'd been hiding behind her professional mask. Because Angela died believing that justice mattered. She thought if enough good people did their jobs properly, the system would work. Maybe she was naive, but she was also brave. And maybe if I can keep you alive long enough to testify, her death will mean something. The boarding pass in my hand showed gate 23, flight 892 to Seattle. Different airline, different destination, different departure time. Rachel had somehow accessed the computer system and moved me to a flight that wasn't on anyone's radar. But it was a temporary fix to a permanent problem. "They'll figure out what happened eventually," I said, looking around at the security cameras, the electronic systems that tracked every transaction, every movement. "There's always a digital trail. I know. That's why we both need to disappear after this. I've got vacation days saved up, and my supervisor thinks I'm taking a long weekend in Vegas. By the time they realize what I've done, we'll be long gone." She handed me a small piece of paper along with the boarding pass. "My uncle owns a cabin in the Cascades, completely off the grid, no internet, no cell service. We can hide there until the trial. Full story on my channel and linked below."